Okay, so one thing to consider is that you could rent your property out in whole or in part. And let's just take it, let's explore this a little bit because it could be a really good option for you if, all you need to do is just generate some more income to be able to get caught up on your mortgage or just to make your mortgage payment every single month, right? So let's look at option A. So let's say you move out, you decide, okay, we're going to rent our property out. You move out of the house and you go move in with relatives or friends or something. I know nobody wants to do that. I know. I understand. Trust me, I understand. And these people and you're living with them, but now you've got renters who are now paying your mortgage and utilities and all the other associated fees. You get enough rent to cover everything or more. Maybe you're making a profit on this every single month, right? And they're there, but now you're also living at your friends or your relatives or whatever, and you're still working. So now you've got additional income and a couple of things. Then we'll go, okay, we can breathe for a minute. But now you have resources to say, let's get that mortgage, any outstanding debt we have on the mortgage paid down, or this can go hand in hand with a loan modification or something like that. But keep in mind and just make sure you understand every detail of every document or any agreement that you make with any lender or anyone for that matter, that it says, or that what it says, because there's some loan modifications that'll say, no, this is only for owner occupant property. So if you're living in the property, this loan modification is in place. However, if you end up renting out the property, it could nullify the modification terms. Read it, look at it, make sure you understand it first before you make a decision like this. But so you have somebody who is now paying your mortgage for you. Thank God. You're over here, you're earning income, and now you're you're making more money. You have some relief, a little bit of inconvenience. But I want to tell you a story real quick, if you don't mind. I had some clients that they started, and this was many, many, many years ago. Brilliant, brilliant family. They had 4 families buy a house and move into one house. First house I sold them. They lived there, and every single family, and when I say family, I mean there was 4 husband and wives, and a couple of them actually one of them had 1 kid, the other one had 2 kids, right? So imagine that, 4 families. But in our society right now today, we're like, oh my gosh, I've only got 2,800 square feet. Where could I actually possibly fit an extra person, right? It's crazy. But anyway, so these 4 families moved in together, and then they were all contributing to the house payment. And I don't mean like the house payment is, $2,000 and then they were all paying $500. No, I mean, like if the house payment was $2,000, they were all paying $2,000. And then they paid that house off. They went and bought another house. And instead of saying, okay, fine, you 2 families go live in that house and us 2 families live in this house, because now this house is paid off. This other house, they all still contributed $2,000 a month. And then guess what? In a short amount of time, that house was paid off. And then they did it again and they bought a 3rd house, and they did it again and they bought a 4th house. And then guess what they did? They did it again and they bought a 5th house. But guess what? That was a rental. Now, all this time that this family, it was inconvenient all living together. It was crowded, right? But they got that house paid off. They got another house. Now they got to spread out a little bit. They got another house. They got to spread out a little bit more. Now they got to a point where they're getting rent. They have 4 houses that are paid off, and now they're getting rent. So they're no longer paying that $2,000 a month or whatever it was into paying off those houses. They're actually making money now. But guess what they did? These guys are amazing. They all still kept putting $2,000 a month, for example, whatever the number was, into a savings. And they were collecting that rent. And in about half the time, they were able to go buy a 6th property. And then in about a third the time, they bought a 7th property. And then in a quarter of the time, they bought a 8th property. And next thing you know, and this family to this day has somewhere in the neighborhood of 64 properties that they're collecting rent on. Imagine that. So I'm telling you this because as painful as the idea of we got to move out of our house and rent it out to strangers and deal with that and become landlords and do all that stuff, there is definitely a lining, a silver lining at the end of that cloud. The alternative is you just you rent out rooms. Okay, if that's what you need, is you need extra income and you got extra rooms or whatever, rent those out. Depending on where your house is, depending on how popular the area is, you got to do research on this. You could Airbnb your house. So let's take a look at this, for example. So you come over here to Airbnb, and look at this for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. They're getting $169 in Santa Ana a night. Okay. This one's in Santa Ana, $208 per night. $60, and a private room for $60 a night. Okay. So could you do these in a way that actually gets you enough income going forward? If you have a really nice house, we are near, Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and the beach and all this stuff. You could do this. You could do Verbo.com, vacation rentals by owner. Go list your property here and rent it out. Or you could go to rent.com now, because this place, I've never used them. I don't know anybody who's used them, but when I look at it, it looks like they make it pretty simple. You accept the applications online. They'll help you screen the tenants, and they'll even collect your rent for you. Okay. And here's one over here, turbotenant.com. Same thing. They'll do the applications and the screening for free. Okay. They'll collect your rent for you. And then they'll help you promote it, and they'll do management. They charge the renter some fees and things like that. That makes it so it's worth it for them. Is it any good? I don't know, but you have to, look at it. It's an option. It is definitely an option, as opposed to just letting the house go in foreclosure. Consider renting it out to somebody in part or in whole. Hope that makes sense.